Oh.
Was this in 1977?
Yeah.
Well, his mum.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because she thought she came from her father was a butcher, so she worked her way up in the social sort of thing.
Yes.
And this rich doctor arrived
That's
here
what
with his
happened to
5
me.
children with no money in a camper van.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. She was expecting more.
And
She thought that you'd been to the colonies and that you must be cashed up.
Yes.
Yeah, that's probably the way she saw it.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so we had this horrible experience with her. So bad that I went into the bathroom and vomited.
Oh
Bless her.
no.
Oh, you're having an anxiety attack.
Well, I've never heard anybody speak about that. So then Roger's father looked miserable and they went off. And after a while I just said to my mother, I can't leave this like this. I have to go round and see them. So I walked round, it was a few streets away, knocked on the door and my father
You strode round.
my father-in-law answered
That's
the door
right,
and he
difference.
said, oh my dear, he said, I'm so glad you've come.
Oh.
Did he?
Yeah, because if I hadn't done that, we'd
You'd
never
never
got
have rebuilt the
over it.
relationship.
Yeah.
No, I had
Oh,
to do
jeez.
that.
Did she apologise? Did she validate?
Nah, she never apologised. She was very envious.
But then you looked
when-
after her
Yeah,
all that time.
till she
Yeah.
died.
Years and years.
You were with her when she died.
I was indeed.
Was she nicer to you when you looked after her?
She was much better when she came to Australia.
Did she like Australia?
She was so against us coming. Australia's considered very low class in England.
Oh, yeah.
So why did you go to Australia? All the rest of the family had gone to Canada. So I think Roger, out of devilment, decided to go to Australia.
Oh, well,
Anyway,
yeah, I
after
suppose.
12 years. they
Canada's too cold. Easy. Just tell them that. You wanted sunshine and oranges. Don't they
And
know?
remember, we'd lived in Africa, so but after 12 years, they came to stay, see us, and friends lent us the Travers lent us their cottage. Hazel lent you her car, and Roger lent them his car. The Travers had a beach box on the beach.
Oh, beautiful.
They loved it.
Yeah. Suddenly.
Absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
And then they found that Roger was actually quite an important doctor, and everybody knew him. And
Oh, you mean when she
And
came to
respected
Australia
her,
and she
respected
saw
what he did.
that
yes.
your lifestyle was
So
nice?
I'll never
Oh.
forget that morning when the phone rang. They were back in England.
Mm.
I'll see where we are now. Phone rang. Roger answered it, of course, because it's usually a patient. He was sitting up in bed. You could see the sea out on. I can see it now. He went, oh. Oh, he said. They'd applied to emigrate. They
Being
were-
accepted.
And they just
they'd
told
been
you.
accepted, and they were on their way.
They
Oh
were
my
on
God.
their way.
Oh my God. It's such a bad place, but you're going to come and live here? Did you say that to her? What are you coming here for?
But their mum and dad had an investment place they just bought. And they put them in and they go, oh, we don't have to pay rent, do we?
What did they say?
Remember they wouldn't pay rent? They're like, you put them in a house. They were like, oh, it's going to be free. No, I remember this
But
is...
my mother died in the meantime and left me a little bit of money.
Oh,
Which
nice.
was enough to put a deposit in those days.
Yeah.
And so they moved in there with their stuff. And we then paid for them to have some plans drawn up to cut off the back of the place so they could build their own house. Well, the first thing was Vicky couldn't get over the fact it had to face north, because it's the opposite to England.
Oh,
everything has
different
to face south.
hemisphere.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah?
Couldn't get over that. Do you remember she kept? I don't want it facing north. And he said, no, you don't. In Australia, you don't face south. You face
Yeah, to get the
north."
sun,
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway, we had these plans drawn up and all the rest of it. And then my father-in-law came when Roger wasn't there one day, and I was sitting in an armchair, and he came right over me like this, and he said, you let us have the house we're living in now, which is the one I bought with him.
Oh, you're joking.
And I said, no. I thought the one thing you're getting is the money, the house my mum
Left for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
I mean, the money paid
Yeah.
for.
So he demanded the house.
Yeah.
Darling, where was the house? Where was the house?
In
in
Frankston,
South Frankston,
yeah.
right near where Katie
Oh,
was.
it's a nice area, yeah.
Yeah.
So we found them. I had a friend, what was her name, Verona Butler. I rang her up. I said, look, I need some help here. We need to find them a house. And they got
A
nice-
rental place or a
No, to
purchase?
buy.
And who
Did you
bought
buy it?
They did.
They bought it.
So were they going to buy the house that you were?
Yeah,
That you
they
were?
wanted to buy that one. And I just said, no, I'm not selling it.
I'm not, it's
I'm not selling it to you anyway.
No, that's right.
Jeez,
Would
you
have
must
been
have had a
either.
really hard time when you first married Roger with that mother-in-law. It would have been difficult.
Well, funnily enough,
But just
We-
remember it was Roger's mother too, which is
Well, of course, some mothers are moody. Some women are
she
moody.
should never have had children, really. She was, you know, they lost their first baby, Rosemary.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
Oh.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Was that? And so
Rosemary.
Virginia
Ginger hair.
is her daughter, Virginia.
Yeah, it's 9 years difference.
Okay.
Before war, after
And
the war.
Virginia, and she made Virginia give up her baby as well.
Yeah.
Is that right? Was
Yeah.
that in the 60s?
It was 1965, wasn't it, when we went to Africa? I think she was born 2 months before.
Yeah.
Oh, because it's a
same
black
age.
baby as well. It
I
was
was
black.
half black.
Did they know? Did they know that he was a Nigerian that she was with?
Yeah. No, she only did it once.
Oh,
Really?
really? She only had a little.
Oh,
affair
the
and
poor
she got
thing.
pregnant.
She didn't even.
No,
Did he
Oh, my-
stand by her or leave or?
no. What happened was they'd arrived at the house
Mm.
because Vicky's parents had moved in near Oxford, and Vicky was the head mistress of the secretary college, and she arrived
Oh.
at the house with 2 white people and a black person, all in the musical group she was in.
Yeah.
And my mother-in-law said they can come in, but he can't.
You are kidding.
No, I'm not. She was
But
there.
racism was really common though, wasn't it? Because even
Yeah, but
even
not
my
with
family,
people like us.
but even people like I think my grandparents were a little bit racist because of the mentality.
Yeah.
Because I remember apparently my uncle brought home a black woman and she said, "Get that black bitch out of my house."
Yes, that's right.
So that's what was common in those days, and that was in like they were born in like 1912. I wouldn't. But,
Postcards in the window frame of the house.
Yes, that's right. They were common, weren't they? No
Yeah,
blacks.
That's it, yeah.
no blacks.
No blacks.
blacks.
yes.
Really?
We grew
And
up.
why
with-
did they hate the
We
blacks so
grew up
much?
with
They're frightened
a
of
black
them.
lodger. They lived with us when I was a kid. My grandmother.
Didn't worry about it.
after
Was-
the war.
Was it controversial? Was she like, you know?
Yeah, no, she was a he. They,
I mean, your
my
mother's.
grandmother wasn't
yeah.
at all racial. No, absolutely the reverse. She was quite bloody minded.
Yeah.
But she, you know, it was after the war. If you had a house of a certain size, and we had a house, it was a bit ramshackle, but it had lots of bedrooms, and,
Yeah.
and you were asked to take in lodgers.
Oh, yeah.
And so
That's a good
and
idea.
so we took, and this guy needed a place to live, and my grandmother said, and several people said, "Oh, you can't take him; he's black." And my grandmother said, "So
He can pay. Who
Yeah.
cares?
he needs somewhere to live." He was the loveliest guy. So of course I grew up
Yeah.
with a black person in the
Yes,
house.
fantastic.
So racisn't didn't
What
even
happened to
feature.
him?
He left sort of, you know, when I was I don't know, a bit before I wouldn't even have been a teenager when,
Yes.
when he finally moved on. But I've no idea where he went in the end.
No.
He was just the most gorgeous guy. So.
Well, the trouble with Ginny having a baby to a black man, a very nice black man, I believe. He was the naughty boy when he was at university, and he was. Anyway, the family found out that he'd fathered a child,
His family,
his family.
yes.
My father was a bishop, I think, somewhere in Nigeria, and his aunt was at Oxford doing her PhD.
Right.
And so they found out this baby had been born,
Yeah.
and the grandfather said, "No child of our family is going to be taken out of the family."
Oh.
Oh.
So the aunt, who was doing the course, went back to Nigeria with this baby, and she became part of that family until Clinton, the father, went back to Nigeria and got married. And then the aunt said, "Now you're married, you must have your daughter back."
Yeah.
Because she had a terrible time from the stepmother.
Oh, really? Oh.
Well, I was.
And
yeah.
you know what the stepmother's called? Lola.
No, no.
Oh, really?
Anyway,
Oh, how sweet.
she had Ginny wrote to them, all the rest of it, because she knew the family had taken the baby, and that she
Oh.
never heard a word, never got anything.
There's every chance her mail was being intercepted.
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
No, since then. Anyway, when Vicky was 35 years old, and she's 2 months older than you, she got in touch with Ginny and said, "I think you're my mother."
Oh.
Really?
I remember that, yeah.
And she'd found out, she knew her passport number, she remembered it, didn't she? And she'd gone to the passport office and said, I'm entitled to a British passport. And they said, no, don't think so. And she said, well, my passport number is so blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, you are entitled.
This is Jenny.
Yes. And then she
Oh.
found out her mother's name, and then she followed up. She came out like you.
I know,
I met her.
with
She's
Sally.
beautiful,
We're on the
yeah.
boat, yeah.
I'd like to go and see her in America. She lives in Georgia.
Yeah, she lives at Atlanta.
Have you been there?
Yeah.
She said she'll look after us.
Yeah, we should have.
She's
think
really
it was-
nice. He's getting his passport. It's been taking him 5 years to get it.
Have you not got a passport?
No.
Well, I'm between passports.
You haven't got a passport.
5 years.
Well, I only started working on that project several months ago.
It was only a couple of weeks ago, wasn't it?
Well, I started with thinking about it seriously several months
Yeah.
ago, and then actually did
I
something.
think it's complicated if you're born overseas too. He's born in another African country, so
Yeah.
sometimes those things can
Yeah.
jeopardise a passport.
Your children have got both, haven't they?
Yes.
Ugandan and British.
I remember.
Yeah.
I remember.
No. Oh, what?
You
They've
get
got
it.
birth certificates from
Yeah, so have I.
Britain,
Oh.
but they can get passports now from Australia and Britain. In
I,
UK, so.
I
So
remember.
he's a dual citizen if he wants to be.
Yeah. When I was.
Is
when
that
I was,
right? So
Yeah.
he's got heritage to be
Yeah, I've got two
European
passports.
Union.
He
Well,
was like
I've had
that
two
if he was
passports.
born in
He's
Uganda.
got European Union though
He
now.
was
No.
born in Uganda, so he's
So,
a British.
we
British
tried.
birth.
I told you this. We tried to get a British passport for Sala, Rillian's daughter,
Oh yeah.
and that was a nightmare. We didn't actually get. I think we could eventually, but the process was so difficult. And Rillian was born in Uganda of
British
British
parents.
parents, and not only that, but basically we were all working for the British government, British Overseas Aid program.
Yeah.
So technically we were British. We weren't, we were partially employed by
Both
British.
Ugandan,
No,
though,
that's
and they
right.
were paid a local salary, and then the British government made it
Tops
up.
it up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it was great though. I was just sad that things went wrong with Amin.
Yes, that's right. Yes,
I
that
think
was.
we'd have been happy staying in Africa for a while.
It would have been beautiful.
Yes,
Well, Jill and Graham
Yeah.
stayed for
yeah,
7
we did.
or
We
8
did
years.
7 years.
He stayed to the last minute, basically.
More or less. We left with the,
When they literally-
in the last week. So the deadline, deadline was the.
So what did they do? They gave a deadline, did they?
Yes, they gave the well, not for us, but the Asians were given 90 days.
Yeah.
Indians and Pakistanis to get out of the country, and the British. Graham went up and visited the British High Commission in Kampala, and they said, we don't know what is going to happen when this 90 days is up. We've seen the sorts of things that happen, in the Congo and so on. And the guy that Graham spoke to had actually been brought over by the British government to evacuate the British if there was a need to do
The
that.
emergency. Yeah. Right.
And he said to Graham, whatever you personally decide to do, you need to get your wife and children out.
Oh,
I see.
all right.
I've seen what happens what can happen.
Oh,
And
God.
so Graham came home and said, I've been told that I've got to get you out. And I said, over my dead body, unless you're coming. Is that me this time?
Oh.